So we have people that are stealing copper wire out of these light posts here. It takes only a couple of minutes for the theft to take place, but then it could take a week or more to get the replacement done. That theft has resulted in a backlog of about 450 lights. We have 22,000 lights in the city, again 450 of which are presently out. That's about 2% of the total, and that's 2% too many. So what we are doing is we are activating everybody that we have. We're making sure that we're using contingency funding to get these lights turned back on. You need lights in a city to make sure that people are safe and feel safe, both the reality and the perception of safety. And this is something that is among the most core city services that we are charged with completing, and we need to get the job done. And so there was a reallocation last year in that $500,000 was cut from light replacement by the City Council. We're adding it back in and then some, because this is the kind of core service that we need to complete. As I've mentioned, what these the people that are stealing the copper wire are going after the copper wire itself. So one of the changes that we are making is shifting it over from copper wire to aluminum. And what the thieves should also know is that we're not going to tolerate this to the extent that they are stealing copper wire and turning off the streetlights. Not only are they not going to get very much bang for their buck in the future because there won't be any copper wire left, we're replacing it with aluminum, but if they're going in and hitting these light posts, we're going to make sure they're arrested. There will be consequences for these actions. So with that, I'm just proud to be here. This is an action that government needs to be taking, and I'm going to turn it over to our COO, Margaret Anderson Kelliher.
Thanks, Mayor. Margaret Anderson Kelliher, City Operations Officer for the City of Minneapolis. This is absolutely a core function of city government, to be able to provide lighting, to be able to make sure our infrastructure is in good repair. And unfortunately, we had hoped that maybe with state law changes and other things, copper wire theft would go down. That has not been the case at this point. And so we need to do something here to help our residents. And so we're going to pull $1 million from our contingency fund and really put all the gas on this in terms of getting the work done, tackling it, and hopefully being through the backlog of the wire theft by November. This project right here is going to be in the next couple of weeks in the Bancroft neighborhood. We have many others that we are tracking and working on. It's also important to remember to call 311 if people are having a lighting outage. We can only know where the lights are out by people calling in. And I know that can feel frustrating to folks at times, but hopefully with the increase in the funding of $1 million, we will be able to really tackle this. I want to thank our team in Public Works. They have done outstanding work here to be able to come up with this plan and be able to utilize the resources on behalf of the residents. And I'm going to introduce Deputy Director Brian Dodds of Public Works to tell you a little more about the project.
Thanks, Margaret. Thanks, Mayor. This is Brian Dodds. I am Deputy Director for Public Works, and happy to be here today with you. Maintaining and repairing our city streetlights is a top priority for our Public Works Department. It has become an increasingly challenging issue over the last 3 years. Our crews have been working as quickly as possible to address these thefts while still doing our standard upkeep of our lighting infrastructure, like replacing broken bulbs and repairs needed due to car crashes and other incidents. This has been a challenging as thefts have increased and our crews have been falling behind just because of the amount of the wire theft. As mentioned by the mayor, a mile of wire can be knocked out in one night, but take a week or more to replace. In 2022, we repaired 1.3 miles of wiring for the entire year. So far this year, we've replaced 4.5 miles, and we're looking to do another 17 to fully catch up and get our system back up and running. We've resumed large-scale wire repairs in April after the frost came out of the ground, and we're using additional electrician hires to catch up on that backlog. We're renting equipment and expanding our procurement of materials so that we can accelerate this timeline. We hope to have this completed by November. And I just want to thank the city leadership and the council members for these additional resources. And we'll be on track to repair those 450 lights and 17 miles of wire this fall before it freezes up. This will allow us to replace all those wiring issues due to theft and make great strides in our backlog. And we're not just throwing money at this problem. We're trying to be creative, trying to work the issue. We're looking at deterrence, long-term solutions. The mayor mentioned using aluminum wire. That's a strategy we've been using more and more. We've also looked at hardening the bases and otherwise trying to deter thieves from these thefts. So to close, I'd just like to thank our council members and city leadership, Margaret, the mayor, and Councilmember Jenkins for giving us the tools to get this important work done for the community. So I think I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Jenkins.
Yeah.
You ready?
What do we think? Street lights, yes? Good street lighting? Are you guys
You ready?
good street lighting?
Yeah, good to see you.
Good to see you. Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Andrea Jenkins, representing Ward 8. And I just want to say I'm really just thrilled that we are able to create some safety for the young kids who go to Bancroft Elementary and for the neighborhood, the community. We're going to, go into our contingency fund to make sure that we can improve the lighting scenario in this community and throughout the city. So I'm really pleased to be here today, and hopefully we can get this thing lit up.
That's right.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
All right. Back to the mayor.
So the bottom line is this. We have had this backlog due to copper wire theft. We are going to do everything possible to eliminate the backlog, get these street lights turned back on, and make sure that people feel both the reality and perception of safety in these neighborhoods. This is, again, one of the core and critical functions of government, and we're going to make sure that people get the service they deserve. I'll open it to any questions you might have.
Are all the street lights going to be replaced with aluminum wire, or what percentage will it?
So over time, yes. Can you maybe give the full answer on that?
Is it the case that the backlog will be all aluminum?
Yes.
That's correct.
And
Yeah.
then moving forward,
Yes.
you're trying to. When do you think you might have all that, however many thousand street lights converted to aluminum?
That'll take a long time, and we're hoping that there's other measures like the state law change this last year that can help address this issue as well. So it would be decades before you could actually turn over the whole system.
Why is that state law not deterring copper theft?
Do you want to take that?
Well, I mean, there's a couple pieces that you should be considering if you yourself are considering stealing copper wire from these street lights. You or any of your friends. First is, you might break into the light and there will be no copper wire there, and that is increasingly the case. The second is, we're going to be watching. And if you're breaking into our light posts, there will be consequences. So again, there's a lesser likelihood that you will make any money off of the profit because there's no copper wire there. There is a much greater likelihood that you're going to get caught. It's something that we're going to be paying attention to.
The state lawmakers need to do something more if that law is not working.
So the law has been changed, and then there's the other side, which is the enforcement. And we're going to make sure that both are tackled.
Are you saying that there has been like St. Paul says we've seen a decrease in complaints, and so we don't need to spend extra money now at this point? There's a report on this. Are you saying that the spigot hasn't, like the flow of complaints hasn't?
No, I don't know that to be the case. I don't know that necessarily. I don't know. I don't know that to be necessarily the case. We have actually substantially reduced the backlog already, and Margaret can talk to this in a second. We have reduced the backlog. We want to eliminate it. Now, of course, we're never going to get to zero because there will always be a street light out that needs to be fixed. But to use the term functional zero, we can significantly draw down that number from about 2% lights off to, 0 plus a little bit.
Just to reiterate here, I'm so sorry.
I want Margaret to just give
so-
the exact numbers because we have been able to reduce it.
So when I came in as Public Works Director over 3 years ago, we were in the over 1,000 at least of lights out in the city, and the team worked very hard. We made it a huge priority. The city council back then dedicated additional resources, and we were able to get on top of that. The challenge is we may see a decrease in that acceleration that happened during COVID and of kind of really rampant theft, but we're not out of the woods here. And so that's the point, is that especially going into these months, the summer months and fall, when people want to be outside and want to be out walking later at night and running, we need to do this and get on top of it.
Are you saying that the people who buy scrap are not enforcing the new law? And because you're saying to the mayor or whoever wants to answer it, but what's not working about the law?
I don't think we want to. I mean, the folks who are buying scrap metal, I don't think we want to say they're the problem here. I mean, the problem is the theft. And the problem is that people may be under the idea that they can still make money doing this, so they go out and do it. And I have not participated in this, so I'm not quite sure how they are believing that they can still make money in this world. But there has been some back and forth with the legislature and the scrap metal dealers about how to adjust the law so it's more effective.
The wire thieves been caught?
I'll make two comments. One, the law became effective January 1st, and with the frost in the ground, it's very hard to tell up until April, so we only have maybe 2 months of data. I'm optimistic the law is going to be effective at addressing this, but again, it's really too early to tell. To your question about have some of the thieves been caught, yes, they have.
So a lot of these new aluminum wires, they are marked and they're still continuing to get stolen. I guess, what do you do about that?
We've seen very little theft of the aluminum wire. Sometimes they'll open up the bases, they might even cut them, but then they realize this is aluminum, this is very little scrap value, and they move on. So that's why we're continuing to use that, and it's been a very effective deterrent for us.
So a few months ago we covered some lighting outages due to copper theft around Lake of the Isles, Stevens Square. Can you speak to any progress? Have those lights been restored in the last few months? If you can speak to those in any specific.
So you're talking about a couple of different jurisdictions there. Part is the park board, part is the city. I mean, look, the bottom line is that people don't care who owns the land, which level of government is in charge. They just want to make sure the lights are turned on. And so we're doing our part to get the city lights turned back on.
And okay, let's just yes. Joe Lauren says lights have been repaired at Stevens Square and around Lake of the Isles.
Not Lake of the Isles.
Not Lake of the Isles yet. Okay.
I think we're talking about the total number of miles of streetlights that are actually out there. I know you said last year was about a mile is fixed. This year it's 40. Want to be 17 total.
Yeah.
How much total is actually out there to give kind of a baseline of percentage-wise how much that?
So we had more than 1,000 street lights that were out. We now have around 450 street lights that are out. We want to get that number down to functional zero. Again, there will always be some percentage of street lights around the city that need replacement. That'll take place forever. But we have been able to draw down the number significantly. We want to end the backlog.
Is there a more heavily targeted area, or is it kind of across the board?
There's a number of different areas. We can get you the information on that. But again, to give you an idea, it's 450 out of 22,000 lights. That's the total number. So it's around 2%, but 2% is too many.
All right.
You don't need the council system you're taking out of that.
Yep, we're going to take it out of
That's right. They had cut about 500,000. We're replacing the 500,000 to do this important, just basic city service work, and we're adding to it as well to expedite the elimination of the backlog.
You're adding $1 million to it, right?
We're adding $1 million. They had taken 500,000.
Net of 500,000.
That's right.
I just want to make sure the issue is we keep talking about whether the law is working or not.
Yeah.
Have there been more complaints or fewer complaints so far this year or year to date or something like that? I mean, because that's like What I'm sort of hearing is the issue is that there wasn't the money to do this and get through the backlog. I mean, that's kind of what
That's right.
That's what this press conference is about. Is that we needed these contingency plans.
Yep.
Are we seeing fewer complaints? Like, has the rate of theft slowed down?
I think it's hard to tell. Again, we've only have 2 months of data, and people are complaining about lights, but these are a number of these lights have already been stolen.
Okay.
And so the data is a little fuzzy right now. We need a few more months to understand where we're going and where the trend is.
Okay. All right. But money. Okay. I think that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. All right.